Tired of the negativity? Looking for a shot of optimism? Well, I have an inspiring story to make you smile right after this. This episode of Misfits and Crackpots is brought to you by the Well-Crafted Story Workshop. Struggling to connect with your audience and attract new clients? Transform your speaking skills at the Well-Crafted Story Workshop with Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. In just 2 days, master the art of crafting compelling speeches that convert listeners into clients. Whether in-person or virtual, you'll get personalized attention in an intimate group, learning not just from expert coaches, but from fellow entrepreneurs. Don't let another opportunity slip away. Get your free story blueprint today at wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com and turn your story into your most powerful business tool. Your success starts here. Visit wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com now. You're just a well-crafted story away from 7 figures. Hello there, my friend, and welcome to Misfits and Crackpots, short, inspiring stories for busy people. I'm Dr. Danny Brissell. This is a podcast for those interested in extraordinary stories about ordinary people and companies. Consider it your dose of positivity and inspiration for the week. St. Francis of Assisi wrote, "Start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible." This week's success strategy: nothing is impossible. When she was little growing up in Weaverville, California, Kathy and her twin sister Connie would pan for gold whenever their father took them along for his work on the Indian reservations. She believes it was those experiences in her childhood, being exposed to nature and other things because of her father's work, that led to her fertile imagination about stories and things. Her father, a Berkeley-educated attorney, instilled in her a love for learning and a respect for different perspectives. But it was her mother who truly planted the seeds of ambition in her daughters' hearts. A highly educated actress trapped in the role of a 1950s housewife, she was determined that her daughters would have the opportunities she had been denied. So, Kathy credits her mom with constantly encouraging her and her sisters to do whatever they wanted to do in life. And Kathy and her sisters did. Since there were no girl sports, Kathy and her sisters played with the boys. In fact, for 2 years, Kathy was the quarterback on her middle school's football team. Her teammates didn't object because she was good. Playing football wasn't just about throwing a ball. It was about leading a team, making split-second decisions, and earning the respect of her male teammates. Kathy loved the idea of being able to collaborate with a group of people that may not particularly mesh together, but all strive toward a common goal. This outlook, and her ability to work with the opposite sex, would serve her well in the years to come. By high school, Kathy had become enamored with something beyond sports: movies. She and her sister would spend countless hours in darkened theaters, transported to different worlds and times. One night, they even sneaked out to catch The Graduate because their parents told them they couldn't see it. College brought new opportunities and challenges. While many of her female peers were studying to become teachers or nurses, respectable but traditional roles for women at the time, Kathy pursued her interest in film by working at a television station on campus. From the newsroom to behind the camera, she embraced every opportunity to learn and grow. In an era when women were often relegated to secretarial roles, she was operating cameras, editing footage, and producing content. Each new skill mastered was a step towards a future she was only beginning to envision. With graduation nearing, Kathy and her mother caught Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind at a movie theater in Los Angeles. As the credits rolled, Kathy began to wonder how the people in the film credits got their production jobs. And that was when she began to focus on working in the movie business. Armed with determination and a willingness to start at the bottom, Kathy landed a job as a secretary to one of Hollywood's most notorious man's man writers. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was a foot in the door of an industry notoriously difficult to enter. Her big break came on the set of a war comedy her boss was producing. The film would become a horrible flop, but Kathy caught the eye of the film's director. He was so impressed with her organizing skills that he hired her away from the producer. She was horrible at taking notes, but what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence, the director later joked. Still, he valued her brashness and creative contributions. As she proved herself time and again, the director gave Kathy more and more responsibilities and challenges. When she told him that she liked his next project, he made her his associate, in charge of the storyboards for the movie. It was the first time she went overseas on a movie shoot. Building a couple of models for a particular scene, Kathy met the film's producer, who would later become her husband and business partner. The film was not only a hit, it was an international phenomenon, and Kathy's contributions impressed the film's director so much that he asked her not only to produce his next movie, but to help him form their own production company, where Kathy, her husband, and the director would work together for the next 30 years. She was 29 years old at the time. And that first film that Kathy produced would become the highest grossing film in history at that point, running in some theaters for over a year. The film's success was no fluke. Since that film, Kathy has further produced more than 70 feature films that have amassed over $11 billion in box office receipts, making Kathy one of the most successful producers in cinematic history. Outside of Hollywood, she may not be well known, but all of today's most powerful people in the film industry recognize her as not only one of the most successful women in Hollywood, but as one of the most important leaders and innovators in Hollywood, period. Mentored solely by men, she's made it her mission to empower other women in film, proving that gender was no barrier to success in even the most male-dominated fields. During her tremendous ride of success, Kathy has raised 2 daughters with her husband and business partner, Frank Marshall, the producer she met on set in Tunisia as they shot the blockbuster Raiders of the Lost Ark. The production company formed with the director who saw something in her as his assistant is called Amblin Entertainment. The first film Kathy produced was E.T., the Extraterrestrial, directed by her mentor, friend, and business partner, Steven Spielberg, perhaps the most famous filmmaker in history. She met him on the set of the war comedy flop 1941 while working for John Milius, screenwriter of Apocalypse Now. Kathy has left an indelible mark on the history of cinema, becoming the first woman to receive the film industry's highest recognition, the Irving Thalberg Award. And Kathleen Kennedy, the Northern California girl who panned for gold as a kid, has discovered gold in the form of Academy Awards. Her films have garnered over 120 nominations and 25 wins. See, friend, inspiration is all around us. You just have to look for it. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another inspiring story about misfits and crackpots. Misfits and Crackpots is a production of Success Media, produced by Terrence Wishner. Sound effects by Alessandro Lucati, courtesy of Pixabay. Thank you for tuning in. If you love today's story, there's so much more to explore in the book Misfits and Crackpots by yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. Grab your copy now on Amazon and dive deeper into the extraordinary lives of those who dared to change the world. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with fellow misfits who love inspiring stories. See you next time.